Today I'm going to tell you an interesting story about the life of Blessed Maria Restituta Kafka. Blessed Maria was a Catholic nun who was executed by the German Nazi and is the patron of migrants, caregivers, and nurses. She was born on May 1, 1894 in Hasovice, a small town of what is now part of Czech Republic. Her birth name was Helena Kafka, and she grew up in a humble working-class family. Her father was a shoemaker, and when she was just 2 years old, her family moved to Vienna, Austria, where she spent most of her childhood. After finishing school, she worked as a housemaid, and later as a nurse assistant, where she discovered her love for helping the sick and the poor. At the age of 19, she joined the Franciscan Sisters of Christian Charity, who were serving the sick and elderly people. She took the name Sister Maria Restituta, and from there she was trained as a nurse and started working at the Mödling Hospital. Later, she was promoted as the lead surgical nurse, where she would serve faithfully for more than 20 years. When a new expansion of the hospital was constructed, she hung crosses in every room, which was a traditional Catholic practice for a religious-run hospital. However, when World War II broke out, Austria fell under Nazi occupation, and the government began suppressing their religious freedom. They ordered the hospital to take down the crosses or any religious symbols and forbade any priests and nuns to speak against the regime. She refused to comply, and she even said, "A hospital without a cross is a hospital without love." But her courageous act of faith did not go unnoticed. One of the hospital doctors reported her defiance to the Nazi authorities. The next day, the police arrested her while she was still dressed in her nursing uniform. She was then falsely accused of spreading anti-regime propaganda and was sentenced to death. The authorities offered to release her if she agreed to leave the convent and return to her homeland, but she firmly refused to abandon her faith and vocation. However, her execution was temporarily suspended after a Nazi official warned that carrying it out would harm the regime's reputation, and so she was detained in prison. On March 30, 1943, after months of detention, she was finally executed and died at the age of 48 years old, making her a martyr of her faith in God. After she died, her body was buried in a mass grave in Vienna Central Cemetery, and her story was kept in silence since the regime vowed to punish those who speak against them. Later, when the Nazi regime collapsed, her story slowly emerged again, and people started talking about her exemplary life. On June 21, 1998, Pope John Paul II beatified her and called her a martyr of faith and freedom. She was also the first Catholic nun that was killed by the Nazi regime in Austria. Since her body was buried in a mass grave, a memorial plaque was built to honor her bravery and courage. Today, she is venerated as the patron of migrants, caregivers, and nurses. Her feast day is celebrated every 30th of March. If you like stories like this, support us, follow, like, and subscribe.